Hi, Jason Barlow, the Center for Muscle Therapy here today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about technique when it comes to a good, effective deadlift. Now, a deadlift is what everybody should be able to do well, from even a baby age right up until into senior ages. It doesn't matter. You should all be able to deadlift and deadlift well. And reasonably heavy too when you've trained your body to be able to do that, of course. Now, let me just give you a quick couple of pointers. This would be the example of a bad deadlift. You know, rounding my spine, grabbing hold of a weight or a bar, not really focusing at all on my breathing, and just rounding round and standing up. Not too bad, not too dangerous when we're just picking up a shoe from the floor or a light load, but when it comes to a heavy load, we've got to use a much better technique than that. So an optimal deadlift would look something more like this. My knees stay behind my toes, my butt's back, I got what we call a neutral spine, and then I stand up tall in this fashion here. Now, the most important thing I wanted to reiterate today for people is the correct breathing technique. So when it comes to a deadlift, commonly when people are training deadlift, they're training with heavier and heavier loads. So when we're doing that, we've got to make sure we're using a very important technique to create what we call intra-abdominal pressure. What that basically does is it creates a lifting force into the lower spine in this region here. And when we go to pivot from the pelvis, if we have a lifting force, basically creating more space between the lumbar vertebrae or the lumbar bones, that's going to preserve the health of our lumbar vertebrae. It's going to dissipate the forces through all the muscles that we're trying to target anyway. So how do we do that? Get yourself a handy dandy piece of string. As you can see, I've already attached mine on here. The placement of this is around the belly button. And the purpose of this, you tie it tight when you've taken a full belly breath. So if I relax my belly and breathe in, now it's tight. When I breathe out, the string goes loose. Breath in, string goes tight. Breathe out, string goes loose. Breathe in, the belly rises or expands. As I breathe out, the string goes loose. Now applying that into the deadlift. Let's imagine for a moment I've got a heavy bar here, which we'll bring in a moment so you can actually see it. I'm going to take a belly breath in before I go down to pick up my bar. So belly breath. I'm going to hold my breath. That traps the air into my lungs. And then I'm going to try drawing my belly button inward. See how my chest went higher? My belly's gone flatter. What that's just done is created that intra-abdominal pressure. It's created space between my discs and my spine, and it's going to help me attenuate those forces when I deadlift through into the muscles that I want. It's going to engage my core. It's going to help me with more upright posture. It's going to lift my chest. It's going to help me get a much bigger bang for my buck every time I deadlift. The simple analogy to think of what we're doing here is it's like getting a plastic water bottle. Let's say we empty all that water, we don't put the lid back on and we go to crush it, we can do it quite easily. If we take that same bottle of water and empty it of the water, let it fill with the air, put a lid on top, even blow air in, put the lid on the top and try to compress it, try to, crush it, it's going to be a much harder task to do that than previously. Why? It's because you created this pressure, air pressure inside, and you sealed it. So all important when you go to do this technique, deep abdominal breath in, but you've got to hold the breath now. Don't let any of the air out until it's time to release it on the exertion. So I take a deep abdominal breath in, hold the breath, draw the belly button inward, creates that lifting force. You can see it happening in my rib cage and my chest as I demonstrate it here. So I'll demonstrate now with the bar, and then I'll show you with a heavier load. So I'm going to bring the bar up into this position first here. From here, deep abdominal breath, let my belly expand, draw my belly button inward. I get down into my deadlift position, and then I'm going to breathe out as I come back up. That's the exertion phase. Deep abdominal breath, draw the belly button inward, hold the breath, hold the belly button inward. That's most important. Release as I come back up. Let's do that with a load now so you can see. So from this position before I'm getting ready to lift the weight from the floor, Deep abdominal breath. Let's check my strings placed. Deep abdominal breath. String now has gone loose because I've drawn my belly button inward. Let's do that again. Draw the belly button inward. Hold my breath now. At the top of you might not be able to see it. Same technique. Excellent. Most important here, the purpose of using the string is it gives you a feedback tool. You know whether you are recruiting the deep abdominal wall muscles or not. And secondly, when you go to lift this weight, if you cannot keep your breath held, keep that relaxed, that is, your belly button's nice and tight, the string is slack on your belly. If you can't sustain that, it means you can't sustain core control whilst you're deadlifting. It means that as your belly is now pushing out against your string, it means that you're not recruiting the abdominal walls, you're not dissipating the forces through all these musculatures that you're trying to attack. So that's a spectacular method that I highly recommend. Whether you're lifting low loads, I'd start with a low load, make sure that you can do this technique, and then gradually increase the load to the degree of which you can sustain this core control, intra-abdominal pressure, and then continue to increase the loads to what, if you're working on it, a 1 rep max might actually look like for you. I'm going to put some comments below, some additional notes for you. If you have any comments though, post them below. Otherwise, visit me at massageokotoks.com or endyourmusclepain.com and check in next time for the next video. Thank you.